I'm now joined by Gayle Taub, fitness trainer and nutrition coach in West Bloomfield. Gayle, it's been a few weeks since we've gotten the chance to talk to you. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Erica. Nice to be here.
Great, we are so happy to have you. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between moving and exercise, where I'm at and where I'm going in my workout. So first, what is the difference between moving and exercise?
So, first, when you think about yourself, you want to think about where you're at today. If you are truly a sedentary person, someone who really doesn't get up much and walk around or move throughout the day in your daily efforts, walking or getting up simply to stretch and move could just be your exercise and a good place for you to start. But if you're someone who is, up and around every day and feeling like you're moving, and the walking or the actual moving is normal for you, that's not necessarily what you need to be doing to exercise. I like to think of exercise as when your heart rate comes up, you're out of breath, and when you're sweating, not because it's hot outside, but because your energy is being used in your body. And the two are very different, moving and exercise.
So is that to say if I'm not out of breath, I'm probably not necessarily getting a good workout, excuse me?
Perhaps. There's a lot of ins and outs there. Blanket statements aren't usually the best way to go, but as a guide, yeah, your heart rate should come up in the work that you're doing. You should be sweating a little bit. Everybody sweats a little differently, some more than others, but you should feel like you've exerted more energy in a concerted amount or a concentrated amount of time than doing a walk or just simply moving.
So if I have just no idea where to start, how do I know if I'm the person that should just be getting up and going for a walk or if I need something a little bit more intense?
Yeah, great question. So, thinking of yourself, you might want to kind of look at the last maybe few weeks of, your days. Have you done any exercise? Have you made a concerted effort to take a period of time, get that heart rate up and sweat? Or perhaps you're a walk taker, someone who goes out to walk. So, you really want to kind of start somewhere that you think logically. Just use your logic. It's not much more difficult than that. And make it consistent. Do what you're doing today more consistently, pay attention, and then know. Then in a week or two, you might want to crank it up a notch once you recognize what you really do in an honest way. Sometimes we think we do more than we do or eat better than we do. It's just something that happens. So being aware, giving yourself a few days or even a few weeks to recognize and notice, and then see if you can crank it up.
I want to make sure I'm doing enough, but where do I draw the line between enough and too much? How can I tell if I'm doing too much?
Yeah. If you are in the gym every day, or you're running a lot, or you're doing something excessive on a regular basis, which is wonderful, the best, healthiest people recognize that actual rest, is part of being healthy. You must give your muscles, give your heart rate, give all of those things a rest. So if you are exercising without taking a day or two off a week, you might want to think through how much rest you're actually giving yourself. Maybe if you're someone who likes to move every day and you're thinking maybe you go a little too hard and now your energy is being swept away and you're feeling sore all the time, that is a good indicator that you need a day or two of rest. But also recognize that if you're that active, then a day of rest might mean stretching, not getting your heart rate up, but moving and feeling good about. You can still go to the gym, but maybe you're not doing as much as you normally would on those 1 or 2 days.
You talk about recovery and whether I'm doing reps at the gym and taking a couple minutes in between each set, or I'm taking a day off or 2 days off a week, like you said, in between my workouts. Can you tell us exactly what that does for your body and how that rest benefits you?
Well, if you can imagine when you're exhausted and your muscles or your body is exhausted, you can't act at your best. There's a reason that we need to sleep every night and refresh ourselves. Our body takes a scientific moment, if you will, to refresh and reboot. It is part of who we are as human beings. So if you imagine you need rest at night in order to rest your entire body, your muscles need rest too. So um, think about the last time that you didn't rest. Think about how exhausted and how effective that exercise had become if you didn't rest. Now take a day or two off. And while maybe you have to fight to do that sometimes, um, notice that next workout. It will feel much different, more than likely. And you will notice how important it is to rest that body and give those muscles a minute to relax and to recharge.
So if I need a little bit of change in what I'm doing, whether it's adding days off into my workout or anything else it might be, how do I make changes that feel good and work for me or anyone else personally?
So always look at where you're at today. And if you're looking at it in terms of adding a few minutes to the workout, maybe that's one way to go. Taking the time to notice that maybe 3 days a week you are working out for an hour or 30 minutes. Maybe you could add a little bit of time to that particular workout, or perhaps add a fourth day, but maybe not the full 30 minutes on the fourth day, maybe just half of that time to get that started and to increase. Um, the short answer to your question is look and see where you're at and see how you can add just a little bit. Um, if you're finding that you're adding too much, more than likely you're going to be extra sore. That's a good thing and not such a good thing sometimes. You got to be careful with that. Maybe you add that time and you do it in small steps. So maybe a rep or two more, or a few more minutes, or an extra day, but partial. Those kinds of steps oftentimes help you to stride and find that stride moving forward.
And how do I know if the change I made was right for me?
How do you feel? You got to think about how you feel. If you feel good, if you feel like you've done your body good, let's say that you're not moving very much at all and you're more on the sedentary side. Notice how you feel when you get up once or twice a week or wherever you start to take that walk. And it's a physical feeling that you might notice, but also it's a mental feeling as well. There's a proud feeling. I think they have this saying, I've used it, everybody's seen it. I regret that workout, said no one ever, right? Most people, once you get over that hump and you do something, you have a very, very high confidence level. You boost that proud feeling, you boost the positivity, you know you can do it, and you want to ride on those coattails. So it's both how you're feeling physically and what it feels like up here and in your heart.
You talked a little bit about being sore. How long should I be sore for, and how hard should I push through that soreness? When do I know I should maybe take a step back because of specifically how sore I am, and when can I keep going and fight through that soreness?
Love it. Yeah, there's a lot of people that battle this one. Um, Gosh, I'm going to start with the word balance to start that answer off. Um, you know, most people like that feeling of soreness. It feels like you've done something and you're proud of that effort that you put in. Um, should you have trouble walking around the next day and you can't lift your arm to wash your hair in the shower or bend down to pick up the clothes on your floor, whatever it might be, once in a while, that's okay. Right. It depends on how you got there, but that's okay. Um, too much of anything isn't amazing, right? You have to be careful. Um, Having said that, some soreness does mean that you worked some muscle groups and does mean and is an indicator that you did exercise and did some good for your body. Sometimes that soreness takes a minute though. At times you might get stiff that night and then loosen up. Don't be afraid of it. try and move. The body wants to move. So there's some chemical reactions that happen in the body. Movement, right when you feel that soreness and stiffness coming, is the very best thing that you can do. There are times, though, that there's an official word term for this, and it's called delayed onset muscle soreness. And that is 2 days after you work out, it might hit you. And you might feel, whoa, my muscles are sore. So as long as that lasts just a day or two, the more you get moving and don't be afraid of it, the better off you're going to be.
I've thought a lot about that delayed onset soreness like you talked about. I experienced that a lot when I was trying some new workouts, and I'm not totally sure if it's related, but it might be the same thing. About a couple months ago, I had a tooth pulled, and the day after it hurt, but the 2 days after, I couldn't get that out. It was really, really bad. Those nerves, muscles, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know how much you know about oral stuff, but if that relates, do you know at all?
So the idea that the body has to heal is really the overarching concept that you're talking about. We injure ourselves, we work our muscles a little too hard. The body needs to heal. That's another indicator that rest is important. That's how the body actually heals in some ways, is that rest. So when I talk about movement, we're talking about moving. We're not necessarily, if you worked your biceps and you're super sore, I'm not suggesting you go to the gym the next day and work the biceps again. But I am suggesting to stretch your arm, to move, to feel, and to work maybe another body part, or get your cardio up so that your body can produce that chemical and you can flush out that chemical that is making you sore. So it kind of is related, Erica, in that the body needs time to heal. But while you're doing that, you might not stop eating while your mouth is hurting. You're not going to stop moving when your muscles hurt.
Gayle, just one more question for you this morning on a different note. With the changes in weather we're going to be seeing in the next month, sadly, as it gets colder outside, and just with all the rain we've been having lately, if my workout routine is normally outdoors, how do I successfully transition that to an indoor workout where I can be successful when I can't get outside?
Yeah, that's great. So think about what you enjoy doing first. That's number one. Number two, think about how you can take those kinds of things indoors. If you're a runner, maybe you take it inside for the treadmill work. If that is not appealing to you, then perhaps in the winter you take up maybe a little bit of weight training. I'm not even talking about heavy, but a different kind of exercise that maybe you like to do when it's that off month of being outside. The other part of it is maybe think about pushing the threshold just a little bit with regard to being outside. So if you have to put on a hat or a scarf, could you still do your run? Now, be careful with the ice, right? If we get bad weather in the winter, that's another story. But can you still go outside when it's a little misty? Is that acceptable to you or not? So maybe you push the threshold of being outside, and maybe you think about other activities or similar activities that you enjoy to bring them inside. And perhaps you seek out someone like me or another trainer to help you figure that part out.
Gayle, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We always appreciate hearing from you and all the great insight that you provide for us.
Awesome. I love to be here. Have a wonderful day, everybody.